Coming up on Locked On Brewers, I asked for your questions, and I got many of them. Most of them, you're not happy with the Zerpa trade, at least what the Brewers gave up. Talk about that and a whole lot more coming up on this edition of Locked On Brewers.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Locked On Brewers. I'm your host, Chuck Freimund, longtime sportscaster here in the state of Wisconsin, proud host of Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the number one sports podcasting network in the country. And it's because you great fans out there. Thanks for making Locked On Brewers your first listen to every day. This particular episode is brought to you by the great folks at FanDuel. FanDuel, you want to be right in the middle of all the action this season. Visit FanDuel.com. Place your live NFL bets all season long, right through the Super Bowl. Coming up on the show today, trades. You want some trades? We had one a week ago, Saturday night. Nobody was happy about it. Mailbag, I asked for your questions. You gave me some good questions, and including somebody asked me about my first experience going to a Brewer game. I'll tell you about that coming up here in a little bit. And I thought we'd keep it light, Christmas time here. Best Brewers present you ever got. We got some good ones here coming up. All right. I feel like we get to this part of the off season every year, right mid-December, and the Brewers always make a move sometime shortly after the baseball winter meetings. Usually we're dealing away somebody that, they was in the final year of his contract, be it a Devin Williams, Corbin Burns, someone like that. Some big move happens like that, and the Brewers get some return. In this case, the Brewers actually, I thought, gave away too much for Angel Zerpa, and a lot of you agreed with me. These trades can happen at any time. A week ago Saturday, I was about to go out to eat. Shannon and I were going to meet another couple at a rural restaurant that had phenomenal food. It's one of those places where you walk in anywhere in Wisconsin and you just know the food is going to be great. And same with this place. They're all over Wisconsin. So part of the reason what makes our state so great. So we're driving into the parking lot. I'm home watching college basketball, betting on college basketball. And we leave Saturday, pull in the parking lot, ready to have a great night. And alert comes to my phone. The Brewers make a trade. I'm like, oh my goodness, what's happening? The Zerpa move. And it was just like Saturday night about 6:00. So you just never know when the Brewers are going to make a move. I remember back in the late 90s, Dean Taylor was the general manager of the Milwaukee Brewers. Remember Dean Taylor? Came here, was an assistant general manager of the Atlanta Braves, and we had big expectations with Dean Taylor taking over the reins as the GM. Well, Dean came in, and he was here 3 years. Underwhelming 3 years. And never really bounced back after that in Major League Baseball. But he was a young guy and, came here from the Braves organization that won all those division titles back then, and went to the postseason, and they got one World Series out of it. But Dean Taylor, the Brewers used to have their winter tour, which they used to start up in January, which, by the way, the players hated to do, because you'd call these players in from their winter off, and you'd have them do the caravan. And you wouldn't get any of the big names, maybe occasionally, but these players would get on a bus and they'd go to Madison and Stevens Point and Eau Claire and Fond du Lac and Green Bay and Appleton and Wausau. They'd make the trip around the state, stay in hotels, but they'd have to take 3 or 4 days, and they'd do the Brewer Winter Caravan Tour. Fans would come. It'd be great for the fans. They'd get there, get autographs, get pictures of the players, access to the players, and it'd be all cool. In this case, in Fond du Lac back in the late 90s, Dean Taylor came up to Fond du Lac, which I thought was cool. Made the drive up, and he was supposed to talk to the fans that night and address the fans. And all of a sudden, 7:00 rolls around at the downtown hotel in the Ramada in Fond du Lac, and there's no Dean Taylor. He's out in the lobby. on the phone. And these were the early days of the cell phone. So he had the cell phone to his ear. We didn't have the iPhones back then in the late 90s. So Dean Taylor's on the phone, and we're in this hall, and it wasn't jam-packed because the Brewers at that point in the 90s weren't a real draw for these winter caravan tours. They weren't doing real well on them. Today they would do much better. But back then, Brewer baseball was sinking quickly. Okay. Even though the Roof and Miller Park and all that were a couple of years on the agenda. So Dean Taylor's in the lobby. So I went out there to see him, and he's on the phone. He's working the phone and all that. I forgot who was emceeing that night from the Brewers. Somebody was emceeing in the front office there. I forgot who it was. So they said, well, Dean Taylor, he's out, in the lobby. He's on an important phone call. So Dean comes in and said, yeah, sorry I was late and all that. And I was on a phone call. Here he was spinning off a trade. And it sounded like it was the Marquise Grissom trade, who they got from the Braves for 3 years. So I believe it was the Marquise Grissom trade. He was like, I got a big trade I'm working on here. That's why I was out in the lobby, and I was driving up here tonight and working on it. And we were just putting the finishing touches. And I believe it turned out to be the Marquise Grissom trade. And, but it was just like, you never know when these guys are going to pull off trades. In this case, the Brewers pulled off a trade a couple of weeks ago on a Saturday night. Here, right in Fond du Lac, Dean Taylor on the cell phone, pulling off a Brewers trade in a hotel lobby, the Ramada in downtown Fond du Lac. It was pretty cool because a few days later, the story broke. But yeah, those winter caravan tours, players hated doing those. And then at one point, they stopped doing those, and the players would go on a tour, like they would come to schools. And like kids wouldn't care because the Brewers, again, 99, 90, and 2000, the Brewers interest, if we did a Locked On Brewers back then, we draw 10 viewers. And I'm being very serious. That's how low the Brewers had fallen. We're lucky that they stayed here. And there definitely could have been an argument for them to leave because interest was so low. We had a financial issue, and we still do in baseball. But these winter caravan tours were dying quickly. So they went to schools then, and then I think they stopped doing it. And then they started holding the Brewers Fest in downtown Milwaukee. And then suddenly, the Brewers started winning some games, and there was interest. And they did this winter, the Saturday, Sunday thing. I don't think they're having one this year, as I recall. Used to be able to get some media access and talk to these guys, and these players hated coming to town too because a couple of weeks before spring training, end of January, you're pulling everybody off of their their winter vacations, and they're bringing it to the town. And if you don't do it, the Brewers ask you to do it, and you don't do it, you look like the bad guy, right? So a lot of players do come. They fly them in, and they bring them in, and as soon as that Sunday night, when that thing's over, those guys are hitting the airport and they're getting out of town. These guys have long seasons, these baseball players. I get it. Because, and I'm not crying for anybody. These guys get paid well. But, it's like an everyday grind in Major League Baseball. And broadcasters, these guys are just doing it, 7 days a week, every day. And you're, broadcasting a game, covering a game, writing for a game, doing it. But when you're doing it every day, for the most part, and traveling and all that, it's a long season. It's a very long season for these baseball players. They're paid handsomely, but all the support staff and all that maybe paid not as handsomely. It's a long season for everybody. So your off season, your winter months for these baseball players, I could tell you, are so precious. And days off during the season, especially when they're home, vital for these guys. But I wish they did that caravan again, but I get it. But I don't believe the Brewers I don't think they're doing that winter fest this year. I don't think they're doing it. I think that there was an excuse why they couldn't do it a couple of years ago because of a snowstorm, I think. They canceled it, and they just never brought it back. If they do have one, they should have it at AmFam Field. They should be using it at AmFam Field. Shouldn't be going to like a downtown, the Mecca, what is it called? The Expo Center down there, or whatever it's called. That's where it's usually held. But hold it at AmFam Field. But they don't do them anymore. But and people ask me, Chuck, are the Brewers done making trades? Who knows? I mean, you might have guessed that Freddie might have been traded at this point. There's all sorts of rumors being out there that Freddie is going to be gone, but nothing yet. Nothing yet at all. But who knows? That trade could come down in the Super Bowl. It could come down late. Hey, the Zach Greinke trade the Brewers made in 2010, December of 2010, was late on a Saturday night at about midnight. I remember Mike Wickett, my partner at the time, calling me up and telling me, did you hear about this trade? When the Brewers got K-Rod, they did that in the middle of the night during the All-Star break. So these trades can happen at any time. And yeah, will the Brewers make another trade? I don't know, but who knows? Who knows? I hope they're not done making moves. We still got to get a better team. They need to get better here in the offseason. We come back, we'll get to your mailbag. Some of you not happy with the Zerpa move. We'll get to that, talk about that. And, some of you guys wanted to know my first Brewer game. I'll tell you that story. It was kind of unique. We'll talk about that next here on Locked On Brewers. Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. This episode brought to you by FanDuel. NFL Sundays move fast, one big play after another, big swings and plays. Hey, maybe like a heavy favorite and they get down early 7-0. Well, the odds swing in your favor. That's where you go to FanDuel. Hey, FanDuel makes it really easy to place live bets. Live betting, that is one of their fortes. Player props update as guys heat up or cool off. You could bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, all that and more on their live betting. And not just football, all sports as well. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action all season long, FanDuel.com, right through the playoffs and the Super Bowl. Place your live NFL bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. And again, accessibility is the key on live betting, and FanDuel makes it really, really easy. They don't make you leap through hoops at all, but you got to go to FanDuel.com and check it all out yourself. FanDuel.com for all your live betting. Chuck Freimund here on Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Hey, everybody, thanks for making us Locked On Brewers your first listen to every day. And thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network out there. And if you haven't already heard, we got this Everydayer Club going on, Everydayer, where you get ad-free audio feed of Locked On Brewers compatible with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the major podcast apps up there. Ad-free. I know some of you don't want to go through all the commercials and all that, but this is ad-free. You won't get any of that. You'll get strictly me talking for the entire episode. Also, an invite for the Locked On Players Everyday Club Discord server. Locked On Brewers includes a group chat just for Brewers listeners, fans of this show. If you're hanging out in Discord, you're going to love it. Locked On Everydayer Club. And there's all sorts of amenities. Check it out. Check it out right in the show notes here of whatever podcasts, the way you consume this, whether it's on audio or the YouTube page, check it out. And I got a description right down below of the Everydayer Club. All right, Chuck Freimund here on Locked On Brewers. Good to have you along. By the way, you get us on Google, Spotify, Apple, wherever you download your audio podcasts. We're the #1 Brewer podcast on the internet because you great Brewer fans out there. And, of course, our growing YouTube page. Search Locked On Brewers, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. That alerts you every time I drop an episode on Locked On Brewers. I was up in Hortonville the other night broadcasting a game, and a guy comes up to me, or an official comes up to me, says, I'm an everydayer, Chuck. I love it. I love hearing from you fans. Wherever I go, guy in the PA system called out Locked On Brewers on the PA system that I was in the building. Hey, man, I love it. If you see me in public, please, please, please stop by, shake my hand, say hello, let's take a selfie. Let's talk some Brewers baseball if you got a minute or two. Always love running into the great Brewers fans out there. All right, mailbag. Here we go. Anthony says, I love having Freddy Peralta as our ace, but after seeing the incredible package of talent the Rays got in exchange for Shane Baz, I have to wonder if this is the year to trade starting pitching. Looks like teams are paying a ton. I kind of wonder if 1 year of Peralta is worth turning down a package like the Jays got. Well, if you can get a heck of a haul back, you'd be a fool not to trade Freddy Peralta. Is 1 year of having Peralta worth it if someone just blows your mind off with with a trade, a complete package? So far, it hasn't happened. Even Matt Arnold has indicated that he hasn't been bowled over by any trade offers so far for Peralta. He said there's a lot of interest in Freddie, but obviously no one is traded for him yet. And who knows? As we go into spring training, that doesn't preclude the Brewers from making a move. What if a team that feels it's going to be a contender comes up with an injury, okay, in spring training? They might say, wow, we're in desperation mode. Let's throw all this at the Milwaukee Brewers for Freddy Peralta. That could be the case. The Brewers hold all the cards in this, right? They hold all the cards. You'd love to have Freddie back. $8 million. You'll keep him on your roster. You keep him on your roster for the whole season. But hey, someone's going to blow you away with a trade. You're going to have to take a look at it. Glory Days says, I want to put my 2 cents in on the Zerpa trade. I hope I'm wrong, but it's an extremely horrible trade. If you can, he basically talks about he didn't like the fact that Isaac Collins got traded, which I get. He thought maybe using Isaac Collins in the infield and all that, but he thought the Brewers gave up way too much into Zerpa. Thought Zerpa's injury history should have played a part in this. I agree with you. Glory Days. Brewers, way too much they gave up for Zerpa. I didn't like the idea of trading my guy, Isaac Collins. I feel like the Brewers sold high on him, but selling high, but you gave up 2 guys for a reliever out of the bullpen. Now, it might turn out that in the long run, it might be great. Yeah, it might be great, but still, the art of a deal is you don't want to give up too much for a guy you value a lot. Maybe the other organization doesn't. I don't know. Who are they outbidding in that Zerpa deal? I want to know, who were they outbidding when the Brewers came to the Royals? You can't tell me that there was other teams out there willing to give away big packages for Zerpa, like a Rookie of the Year candidate and a serviceable reliever with Mears. Stone King says the Brewers really screwed up this trade. You must address Brewer fans that Isaac Collins and Mears for no-namer like Zepra. Isaac Collins finished 4th in the Rookie of the Year voting. And Mears was solid all year long. I'm very angry. They are never making the Brewers better. It was just seeing this and going on the cheap. I get it. Yeah. And I got a lot of those type of messages today. Many ring with me. I agree with you. If you're going to agree with me, I agree with you. Dave says, just listen to your podcast. One thing that should be mentioned is Peralta recently switched agents. At this point, he needs to be dealt to keep the mindset of here and now. Let's face it, the Dodgers are the big bad wolf. If we keep thinking Peralta is all we need, we will get a haul back for him, and it will be for the best. Just what I was talking about a little while ago. He thinks this is our rotation here. This is our rotation right here, Chuck. Here's my option. Woodruff, Priester, Miz, Patrick, Henderson, and Crow. I don't know about Coleman Crow. I'm not sure about him. Henderson, I like. See how he bounces back. He was healthy at the end of the season. Could have pitched. Patrick, I think they're going to move to the bullpen. Woodruff, Priester, and Miz for sure starters. But you didn't mention Ashby, or you didn't mention who I think is a candidate to start, and DL Hall. But, DL Hall is always hurt. We just never know about him. We come back. Your best Christmas presents. Oh, I had one more, people. I got one more question here. I'm going to save this for after the break here. Somebody asked me, what was the first Brewers game you ever went to, Chuck? And I'm going to tell you that because it was a unique experience. Unique. And I'll tell you about that coming up next here on Locked. I almost saw history. Talk to you about that next here on Locked On Brewers. Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. This show is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time. Bucks tickets, Packers tickets, concert tickets, movie, whatever. Broadway shows, they're all there on Game Time. Getting tickets used to be a hassle with long queues, logins, prices changing at checkout. Game Time is here. Game Time is a game changer. Puts the advantage back in the fans' hands, making getting NBA tickets easy. And you're not going to get any surprises because you're going to see these NBA tickets. You're going to buy them with all the fees right there. So when you get to the checkout line, you're not going to get a bigger price. Game Time doesn't do that to you. I saw Bucks tickets the other day for $25. And I get it, the Bucks are struggling, but still, NBA game, no brainer. And those tickets drop 3 hours until game time. Between 3 hours and opening tip-off or first pitch or kickoff, those prices are plummeting. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets. Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB, $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Locked on MLB, $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Create an account on Game Time. Chuck Freimund down the stretch. Here we come on Locked On Brewers. All right. I could have mentioned this in the last one, but I carried it over to this segment here. Chuck, what was the first Brewers game you ever went to? Now, technically, the first Brewers game I went to, I was really, really little, and I don't remember it, but I have a program up there on my wall. If you're watching Locked On Brewers, I don't think you can see it up there. It's from 1972. It's way up there. You can't see it in the screen if you're watching it as YouTube. Well, my parents, my family, and all that, 1972. Del Crandall's was the manager. I don't remember a thing about it. So I have the program apparently. One thing I remember about it, we were sitting in an upper deck at County Stadium, and I was eating an ice cream sandwich. It was the first time I ever had an ice cream sandwich, but I don't remember anything about the game. I was 5 years old. Then I fast forward to 1975. I went to the 1975 All-Star game at County Stadium. I went to an All-Star game at County Stadium. I was 8 years old, and we sat in the right field bleachers. Now, my first Brewer game, also 1975, late July, 1975, the Brewers are facing the Boston Red Sox, who won the American League East that year. And I'm just getting into baseball. Brewers are on Channel 4 in Milwaukee back then, and there's not many games on, so you listen to games on the radio. There weren't many, and they never showed home games on TV back then. Yeah, there was a time, boys and girls, when not every Brewer game was on TV. So, Dad takes me to the game. We're going to go to it was a twilight doubleheader where boys and girls, the Brewers used to play night gate doubleheaders. They'd start at 6 o'clock and they'd play a twilight doubleheader. They'd play 2 games. So you'd get out of there pretty late. Twilight doubleheader. God, I miss those. So anyway, we went to this game. We went to the first half, and I remember my dad my mom had to work, and my mom told my dad, well, you guys probably could just stay for the first game. He's not going to be able to sit through 2 games. I'm 8 years old at the time. But I got to County Stadium, and here we are. I'm loving it, man. 8 years old. I see these guys on TV. Loving it. Upper deck. And Rick Wise, the Boston Red Sox, took a no-hitter until 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th inning against the Brewers. Almost had a no-hitter. And then George Scott with 2 outs, bottom of the 9th inning. George Scott for the Brewers hit a home run to right center field to break up the tie, or to break up the no-hitter. And the no-hitter was gone. The next batter came out. Bobby Darwin hit a home run. And then they took Rick Wise out of the game, and they got the final out, and that was it right there. But I was within 1 out of seeing a no-hitter in my very first Brewers game. That was by Rick Wise. Now, since then, out of the thousands of games I've covered and gone as a fan, I have not come close to seeing a no-hitter live where they're 1 out away. I've not seen it. I saw Nolan Ryan back in 89 take a no-hitter in the 9th inning. It was broken up, I think, by Yount or like Terry Francona, who played the Brewers at the time. 89, 88. Ryan took a no-hitter into the 9th. But I've seen no-hitters take it in the 7th, 8th, but never with 2 outs in the 9th. But I was 8 years old. Rick Wise did it. And would you believe it? thousands and thousands of games later, I have not come that close to seeing a no-hitter, and I've never seen a no-hitter in person. I did go to the game at AmFam Field when the Cubs were throwing a no-hitter, and I forgot who threw the no-hitter. God, I forgot who it was with the Cubs. They're playing Houston back in 2008, I want to say. And you know what? I know some of you guys are screaming right now. Who threw the no-hitter? God, 2008. I'm looking it up right here. All right, I'm going to look it up. Looking back at Cubs no-hitters. Let's see. I'll scroll down real quick. Oh, Carlos Zambrano it was. God, Carlos Zambrano. I stayed for 3 innings because the Brewers were playing Houston on a Sunday night at AmFam Field, or it was Miller Park at the time. Played 3 innings, and I was like, Sunday night, I got to get up for work tomorrow. I'm just going to leave. So next morning, I get in my car, turn on my radio station. At County Stadium, or at AmFam Field last night, in Milwaukee baseball history, Carlos Zambrano tosses a no-hitter. Oh, and I missed it. It was a Cubs player, but still, it would have been history. It would have been the first time I ever seen a no-hitter live. I've never seen one. So, but my first game, Rick Wise, no-hitter. Boston Red Sox into the 9th inning with 2 outs, broken up by the boomer, George Scott. Best Christmas presents. Some of you said here, somebody wrote me and said they bought the Adam McCalvy 50 years of the Milwaukee Brewers. That was, I believe, written in 2020 or 2021, the first 50 years of the Milwaukee Brewers. I've yet to read the book. Adam's a friend of mine. I've lived through all those moments, either as a fan or as a media member. But I do want to read that book. I just haven't read it. But somebody got it for as an early Christmas present. Cecil Cooper autographed card, 1983. Yeah, a Cecil Cooper autograph is rare. As I told you, he didn't sign many autographs back then. I was one of those guys as a kid who would be out in the county stadium parking lot, along with a handful of other kids, by the Brewers parking lot, waiting for Yount and Molitor and Cooper and Jerry Augustine and all those guys to come in and would get autographs. I was that kid who would do that back in the 70s. I got a Brewer helmet back in 1977. Oh, those old plastic Brewer helmets. Do you remember those that they used to sell at the concession stands? Remember, they didn't have a clubhouse shop back then. Later on, about 1994 or so, they built one inside a county stadium, just kind of a makeshift one. But they didn't have clubhouse stores back then. They had little novelty places that they would set up. They'd sell pennants. Pennants were the thing, and helmets of every team. Foam cushions, I think they sold out there. Brewer helmet, 1977, I got for Christmas. Wow. Somebody must have bought you that during the season because you couldn't have bought those in the store. Autograph photo of the 1982 Brewers. Someone sends me a jersey, Prince Fielder jersey. Yeah, Prince Fielder. I bought that jersey. Prince came up in 2005. I was all in on Prince. Bought me and my young son at the time. I made him a Prince Fielder fan. And he still is a Prince Fielder fan. I bought the retro jersey that day. Someone said a Ryan Braun crack bat. Very cool. Autographs. Yeah, players are so reluctant to sign autographs these days because they don't want people taking their autograph and going online and selling it. Right? They don't want to do that. They don't want that. I get that. So they'll personalize an autograph, maybe. I mean, if I got an autograph, I think selfies are a bigger deal these days. But if I got an autograph, I'm not running the eBay, or I'm not trying to sell it. I'm not a collector. I'd put it on my wall here somewhere. But I wouldn't be running up. But I know I get the gimmick. I get it totally. All right, everybody. If I don't talk to you, have yourself a great Christmas. I plan on dropping another episode before Christmas. But if I don't talk to you, thanks for making us your first listen to every day. And check out the Everydayer Club in the notes. Thanks for making us your first listen to every day on Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. You've made it a great year for us. Have yourself a Merry Christmas. And if I don't talk to you before Christmas, but I hope I do, because I hope you watch this next episode as well that I'm going to do in the next day. Have yourself a great Christmas, everybody. You've been watching and listening to Locked On Brewers.